Okay, folks, how you guys doing? My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. What's happening? My peoples, where you at? Very short show tonight, just a couple things I want to talk about. A few things that have caught my mind that I thought were interesting and I want to share with you guys. But before we get into it, this is what we're working on. This is our Thark from Edgar Rice Burroughs' Princess of Mars Barsoom series. That's what this is supposed to be. Although I realize now that I should have put tusks on them. I think the Tharks are supposed to have big tusks that come out of their mouths, but maybe I'll get into that later. And they don't really use spears per se. They use swords. Yeah, maybe not exactly accurate to the source material, but that's what it was inspired by. Anyhow, getting kind of close. Now we're just going to add some shadows and stuff. We're going to mess with the background a little more and add some highlights and shadows and that kind of thing. But let's get into the first thing that we're going to talk about today. Have you guys ever heard of Aaron Ra? He's a YouTuber, an atheist YouTuber, which is seemingly one of the more intelligent atheist YouTubers that are out there. The guy is very, very well-read and well-spoken. He does a lot of pro-evolution content. Lots of content about religious freedom and freedom from religion. That kind of thing. He is this sort of big, older, biker-looking guy with like really long rock star hair. Got to be in his 70s at this point. The guy's an atheist. He's been making atheist content on YouTube for years now. I mean, he's been around at least 12, maybe even 15 years on YouTube. Somewhere around then. He's been there ever since I can remember. And he's really big with debating Christians on creationism and that kind of thing. And has recently done a lot of sort of content against the wacky religious right and Christian nationalists in this country. So he's one of my personal heroes. And as such, someone who's actually kind of big on YouTube usually gets lots of little stalkers. Things like that. People who screw with them constantly and troll them, that kind of thing. And I imagine this happens to Aaron Ra all the time, as well as with every YouTuber that you may come across who's just even the slightest bit popular. I mean, even a channel such as mine, which is incredibly small. My channel is very small. My average video gets 100 views if I'm lucky. You know, if I'm lucky, it gets 100 views. You know, once in a while I'll put out a video that gets a few thousand or something, right? But not very often. Even somebody like me, who's a virtual unknown, I still get people trolling me and messing with me and stuff like that. Making response videos and insulting me and insulting my mother and etc, etc, etc. So it's no surprise to me to see that these types of Christian trolls would be after a high-profile target, like Aaron Ra. I saw a video from one of these guys. And, you know, usually you can kind of ignore this sort of stuff. I mean, usually they're cranks and you don't really have much to worry about them and they never really have anything interesting to say most of the time. But what caught my eye about this guy who I'm about to show you, is that his claim is essentially, in so many words, Jesus kills people who don't convert. And now, if I have this wrong, please let me know. But that's what I got, so I'm going to show you this video from him. Let me go ahead and turn on my window here. This guy's name is Wildman Chris. Well, I think that's what his name is, because that's what it says down at the bottom here. Let me just open that up. So this guy's name is Wildman Chris, from what I can tell from that little thing on the lower left there. But the name is, on his channel, is Jesus is Really Real. Will Jesus Ever Forgive Me? So, is that his actual name, Wildman Chris? Or is Jesus Really Real? I don't know. The name of this video is Aaron Ra. I hope you burn in hell like this for not loving me. And since I know someone like Aaron Ra would never respond to a troll like this, I figure I will respond for him. This particular claim is a little out there, talking about how Jesus kills people. Seems a little crazy to me. The idea that Jesus kills people. I mean, because there are a lot of people on Earth who are not Christian, wouldn't you say? So if Jesus actually killed everyone who wasn't a Christian, wouldn't there be lots and lots of people who would just be dead already because they're not Christians? I mean, everyone in the Middle East, everyone in China, like, wouldn't they all have, like, every Buddhist and every Jewish person and every sun worshiper, wouldn't they be dead already? But anyway, let's listen to what Wildman Chris has to say. Let me just go ahead and set this speed to 1.25, and let's let him take it away.
Aaron Ra. If Jesus is not real, Aaron Ra, how do you explain that Christianity is their only religion where people who refuse to get saved or blaspheme God when they're being preached the gospel to, who die mysteriously, freakishly, frighteningly? I'll give.
All right, that's the claim. The claim is people who don't convert, people who make fun of the gospel, die mysteriously. That's a pretty big claim, wouldn't you say? I mean, I'm pretty sure there would be a direct evidence of that if that were the case, right? If you were to blaspheme and then suddenly die, pretty sure that is a testable claim that we can test, you know? Couldn't you just get 2 people, 3, 4, 5, whatever people, put them all in a room, have some people start blaspheming, and see who drops dead first? I mean, if God really kills people who don't believe in him just because they say with their mouths that they don't believe, like, it seems like we should be able to test that, right? So let's hear what Wildman Chris here has to say. What's his evidence for this? Because I'm interested. I want to know.
I'll delete my YouTube channel if you can find one case in Hinduism or Islam or Mormonism or Catholicism. Now I'll leave out Catholicism. If you can find one case in Islam, Mormonism, or Hinduism, or even Voodoo, where somebody said, I don't want to become part of that religion, or when somebody was, for example, talking to them, trying to get them to convert them to Islam, and a man replied, Muhammad be damned. If you can show me a case of a person who did this and died because they either refused to convert to Hinduism, Mormonism, Voodoo,
okay,
Islam, or blasphemed the religion and refused to convert and was killed in such a way as I'm about to show you, I'll delete my channel. But you won't, because Christianity, this is proof for positive.
Alright, first off, Mormons are Christians. It's funny how they always try to deny that. Mormons are Christians. They are. Okay. It may not be the type of Christianity that someone like this guy approves of or even thinks is Christian, but no, they are. They fall under the umbrella of Christianity. They are an offshoot of it at the very least. That's the thing you get from conservative evangelicals a lot. They always like to, they basically claim that Mormonism is one step above, like, paganism. You know, to them, Mormonism is like the same thing as like Hinduism or something like that, or or any other type of paganism. They think it's just not part, but no, it's not. It's under the umbrella of Christianity. It's the Mormons are Christians. They believe in the same Bible that evangelicals and everybody else believes. They just have another sort of fan fiction that goes along with it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a believer in Mormonism either. Mormonism is obvious bullshit. Put it that way. But it's not up to me or anyone else to decide if they're actual quote-unquote real Christians or not. Nobody gets to decide what a real Christian is. Nobody has that power to gatekeep Christianity. Not you, not this guy, not Jimmy Swaggart, not the Pope, nobody. People say what they are what they say they are. And if Mormons want to call themselves Christians, they have a right to do so. So that's one thing. Secondly, he's saying if we can find an example of somebody of these other religions, and I like how he threw Catholicism in there too, and then brought that out. Said no, maybe not. Yeah, because Catholics are also Christians. I mean, they're the OG Christians. So, but anyway, but I like how he's giving the challenge to us that if we can find an example of somebody dropping dead because they disparaged one of these other religions, it's like, no, you're the one making the claim here, buddy. You're the one who's saying that if I don't convert to Christianity, God is going to strike me dead where I stand. You're the one making this claim, so you come up with the evidence. You tell us how that happens. It's not, and that's the other thing Christians always get wrong. They always try to shift the burden of proof. And it's not really just Christians, it's any religious people. But conservative evangelical Christians are really bad about this, especially when you get people that, if you're debating somebody about anything that has to do with religion, the existence of Jesus or the existence of God or something like that, or creationism, that kind of thing. And they always say, well, prove to me that it's not real or something like that. And it's like, well, no, that's not how it works. Prove to me that I'm wrong. I say evolution didn't happen because Christianity, blah, 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 and the earth is only 6,000 years old or whatever. Prove to me that I'm wrong. It's like, that's not how it works. And that's not how it works at all. You're the one making the claim. You have to prove it to us. You're the one that has to prove your claim. I don't have to prove shit. I'm the one who doesn't believe. You have to prove to me to make me believe. Not the other way around. It's like saying, all right, prove to me Bigfoot doesn't exist. Well, I can't prove that Bigfoot doesn't exist. You have to prove to me that Bigfoot exists. I can debunk lots of different stupid-looking Bigfoot pictures that aren't real. Same thing with the Loch Ness Monster. I can debunk lots of pictures of the Loch Ness Monster. It's like, well, that's not real. That's just a rubber tire floating in the thing, or that's just a toy that somebody faked a monster photo with, or whatever. I can do that, but can I prove that there's no such thing as a Loch Ness Monster? No. What do you want me to do? Go drain the fucking lake? Right now? Do you want me to go do that? Want me to go get a bucket right now, fly to Scotland, and drain fucking Loch Ness as you're watching at this very moment? No, I'm not going to fucking do that. I can't do that, and it's not up to me to do that, because I'm not the one claiming that the goddamn monster is real. You're the one making the claim that people drop dead when they don't believe the Gospels. They die of mysterious circumstances. Well, why don't you show us some evidence of that actually happening? Because that sounds like grade A 100% all American beef bullshit to me. Let's continue.
That Jesus is real, and he's the only way. Listen to this story.
And when I got back in that room where they received dead bodies, stretched out there on that slab of marble was a headless body. And I said, who in the world?
Now, before we continue here, this is his actual video. I didn't zoom in or zoom out or alter this in any way. This is what the guy is playing. Now, I'm not sure who this pastor is that we're now watching here. I'm wondering if I'm going to get a YouTube strike for this, because a video that I'm watching is also watching another video where it's sort of like videoception at this point. Just wanted to let you know that, how it's all weird and zoomed in and everything, and we can't actually, it's off center and all that shit. He actually did that himself here. I didn't actually change that. So let's continue.
World is that? He said, just make a guess. I said, I have no idea in the world. He said, that's Woody, and went on to name him. I said, Woody. And he said, yes. I said, Woody was at our service this morning, and I begged him to give his heart to Jesus. I begged him to give his heart to God. And he said, let me alone, preacher. Let me alone. I'll be back tonight. And I said, what happened? He said, coming down Magazine Mountain, he and another young man were racing in their two beautiful sport automobiles. And he said, somehow or another, Woody lost control of his car.
You guys know these stories are not real, right? Just want to let you know that. Like, and especially when it comes to like the 700 Club, shit like that, when they get up and they tell these sort of conversion stories, you know these things are not real, right? You know this guy's just making this shit up. This conversation never happened.
And in the freak accident, somehow or another, that windshield and that sport car cut his head, severed his head from his body, and his head rolled off down the mountain. And now they have called out the soldiers from Fort Chaffee to come up in hand, walk down that mountain and try to find that head.
All right. So let's just listen to what just happened there, okay? This pastor, whoever he is on TV telling a story about how somebody was going to church, didn't want to convert, got in a terrible accident where his head got chopped off, and Wildman Chris here just laughed at it. He laughed at that. He is taking joy in the fact that somebody died horribly. And to be honest, if we're to believe the premise of this video, that Jesus kills people who don't convert, then that means Jesus Christ killed this man. Is that true? Jesus murdered this person. Because what? Because they didn't want to go to church? Is that why? So, first off, that's kind of creepy that an all-loving, all-knowing God would just kill somebody like that. I mean, I thought God was supposed to love you unconditionally. Isn't that what Jesus is supposed to do? Isn't that kind of what the conservatives and the Christians and the Christian nationalists and the MAGA chuds and all those people always say all the time? Just turn your heart over to Jesus. It's never too late. You can be redeemed. You can go to heaven. Just turn your life over to Jesus. Just look to him and have a personal relationship and all that shit. Kind of seems hard to do that when your head is rolling down a hill. Because, I mean, what, did Jesus just give up on this guy? Like, I guess it's cool for everybody, except for this dude. Jesus just didn't like this guy, right? So fuck this dude. Jesus is just gonna fucking decapitate his ass. Is like, why? Why exactly? What did this guy do that was so fucking bad? So that's the first thing. Second thing, this dude just laughed at it. He laughed at it. He likes the idea that Jesus kills people. He likes the idea that Jesus is murdering people who he doesn't like, who he personally does not like. I mean, that was a giggle there, right? Let's just rewind that just a little bit. Pretty sure I heard a giggle.
Now they have called out the soldiers from Fort Chaffee to come up in hand.
There you go. Laughed at it. The dude laughed at the story. God is supposed to be loving. Is God not supposed to be loving? Isn't that what they always tell us? Jesus Christ is supposed to be loving no matter what. No matter what you do, right? No matter how bad of a person you are, you can just turn your life over to him and everything will be okay and you'll be forgiven for all your sins and all that. Yeah, unless you're somebody like this dude just doesn't like, in which case you could just die and he will laugh at you. I mean, that kind of seals the deal for me right there. Like, this guy is a fucking asshole. That really, any compunction I may have had about picking on someone who is obviously a moron with a low IQ, like, kind of went right out the window with that giggle. After that giggle, I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I'm picking on this dude at all. Because that's fucked up. To laugh at somebody's misfortune like that. What the fuck kind of Christian are you? I was under the impression that Christians were supposed to be nice people. Aren't they supposed to be nice people? Isn't that the idea that You will know them by their works, right? By the fruit of their labors, that kind of thing. You're supposed to live a godly life when you're a Christian. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Aren't you supposed to go out and feed the homeless and help the needy? And aren't you supposed to sell everything you own and give it to the poor? I mean, is this just shit that Christians just don't do anymore? Apparently this guy doesn't do it. Apparently what being a Christian is, what this guy thinks being a Christian is laughing at people when they die. Because obviously God didn't like them. God's giving him permission. I mean, that's what I seem to get from a lot of Christians, is that it's like a superiority kind of thing. But let's listen to a little more. We're only almost 3 minutes into this, and let's listen to some more.
Walk down that mountain and try to find that head. Let me tell you, when I saw that head...
More laughing. More laughing over the fact that the man in this story had his head chopped off. Okay.
This body on that slab of marble. And when I learned who that was, never in all of my life have I heard those words ring in my ears. Let me alone, preacher. Let me alone until tonight. I was holding a revival meeting in Lawrence, South Carolina, in the Lucas Avenue Baptist Church, when two beautiful girls heard me preach. One of them was 18, the other was 14. They were sisters. And I begged them to give their heart to Jesus that night. And both of them said to me, this is the first night of the revival, and we have talked about it, and we want to get saved. But preacher, let us alone tonight. We'll come back to the revival meeting, and then we'll make our decision for the Lord. And I said, young ladies, that's presumptuous sin. You have no right now, today, this moment. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Now is the accepted time. Will you trust him? Both of them walked out that night. Those two precious girls and their whole family was murdered and their home set on fire. I stood and watched the firemen as they raked the bodies out of the charred, burned bodies.
Okay.
My only qualm is passion.
Now, you guys know that both of those stories were bullshit, right? All right, the first story, okay, guy gets in a terrible car accident, decides that he's going to go home, he's not going to convert right away, but I'll come back later. Gets in a terrible car accident, his head gets decapitated and rolls down a mountain. That never happened. Second story, two young girls decide, oh, we'll come back later. House burns down, they all die. You understand that those stories are both bullshit, right? These things, they're bullshit stories that guy just made those up. I used to work at a Starbucks, like 20 years ago. And really, I would open in the morning. And I had a good 30-minute drive, maybe 25 minutes or so in order to get to work. Right? It's just fuck. Oh, it's horrible. It sucked ass. I had to be there at like 4:30 a.m. I think we opened at 5, I think. It was horrible. That early in the morning, there really was nothing to listen to on the radio. I mean, I would listen to music, but sometimes you get bored of music, And especially at that time, this was 20 years ago, there were no phones. You didn't have your entire music collection on you at all times like you do nowadays, with your phone that can fit every single song that you own at the same time. That wasn't a thing back then. It was still the era of CDs and stuff like that back in, this is 2002, right? There weren't even iPods yet at that point. At least I don't think so. I can't remember. I think the first iPod came out in 2004? Anyway, something like that. So it was still the era of when you would just burn your own sort of compilation CDs or whatever, right? So I would occasionally get bored of music, and it's there really wasn't much to listen to on the radio. There was top 40 type shit. But what I used to listen to a lot were sermons, religious stations, right? Because they were interesting. And they would have things and really at this point in my life, I wasn't a hardcore atheist as of yet. I definitely wasn't a Christian, and I didn't really believe at that point either, but I still kind of entertained various notions of certain things at this point in my life. Remember, I used to be a hardcore conspiracy theorist right around here, right around this time of my life as well, so I believed lots of wacky things. And it was interesting. It was interesting listening to these guys. But one thing that I started to notice is that this is a rhetorical trick that they use a lot. This idea of, I'm going to tell you a story, and then they tell this completely made-up bullshit story that has no basis in fucking reality. That basically what they are, they're like jokes. It's like telling a joke. You know, a humorous antidote, you know what I mean? Something like that. Except that it always results in, you know, their methods by which they can spread the gospel or whatever and get people to believe certain things and shit like that. And that's a thing that all of the preachers would do when, you know, that I was listening to. They would all have these sorts of phony baloney made up stories about one thing or another. And it was funny how it always related to whatever they were talking about that week. You know, whether they're being against abortion or whether they're talking about the importance of tithing or whether they're talking about how it's bad to be gay or whatever the shit they were talking about. It's funny how they always had a story that was always about one time back when I was blah, blah, the beginning of this station, I went to blah, 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 blah. Like, and it was all just made up. One of the stories that really stood out to me, one of the things that I heard once on one of these channels, one of these sermons, right, was a story about how a guy went to school, and this guy, and I've heard this one 3 or 4 times from different like TV preachers and shit like that. And it was about a guy who goes to a school who's a veteran, and he's in a college class. And what it is that the professor he walks in the class, and the professor is standing up on a desk, and the professor is daring God to kick him off of the desk. Says, if there's a God, then he should knock me off of this desk. And I'm going to wait here until God knocks me off of this chair. You know, standing on the desk, staying on the chair, something like that, right? And then 5 minutes goes by, and 10 minutes goes by, and 20 minutes goes by, and still waiting for God to knock me off the chair. And what happens is that the student, who's also a veteran, gets up and punches the professor and knocks him off of the chair. And he says, God is too busy out there defending our troops in Afghanistan, so I did it for him. Now, first off, this story is made up. It's made up bullshit. It didn't happen. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, you can kind of see the conservative cultural virtue signaling all over it. God is watching our troops. I did it for him. You know, like the idea that this would even happen in the first place, that a college professor would do this in the middle of his class. Like, what kind of lesson is the professor trying to teach in the first place? It's all made up BS. Does this guy actually believe these stories? Does this guy actually believe that those stories were true? That preacher actually said, you know, oh, somebody just got in a car accident when there's a preacher, let me be, and then they got in an accident and their head rolled down. Does he actually fucking believe that was a thing that actually fucking happened? Does this guy actually believe these dumbass fucking made up BS stories? I mean, I think he may. I think he might actually believe this shit. I mean, he's claiming that Jesus kills people who don't convert. This is why I think religion is fucking dangerous sometimes, because it's like, if this guy believes shit like this, who knows what he'll actually do? Right? Somebody like this, I mean, look at this dude. This guy probably owns 3 or 4 firearms. He could be a dangerous person. Anyway, went off on a big-ass tangent there. Sorry about that, but let's listen to a little more of the video here. I don't want to quit too early. Let's bring it right to the end of where the preacher was talking.
Only qualm is, Pastor J. Harold Smith, why wouldn't they said this? Why did you not beg God to have mercy on them? Why did you not beg God, oh Lord, please let them get saved? Please don't let anything happen to them before they can get saved. Why?
So now he's saying the preacher didn't beg God? Okay, but wasn't this guy just laughing at those stories a few minutes ago? So, you find it funny when somebody dies. When a non-Christian dies, he finds it funny, but at the same time, he's disgusted with the preacher for not begging God to spare their lives. I mean, I guess that makes sense, kind of, sort of. I don't know. Moving on.
So you can have the store to scare people into getting saved? You're willing to let them burn in hell forever so that others might hear their fate and say, hey, I want to get saved now. That's my only qualm with this. There's no excuse in those girls having to have...
That's my only problem with this. Okay. I like how he doesn't have a problem. I mean, first off, okay, he obviously believes it. So, this guy is not the smartest person, not the brightest bulb in the bunch when he's believing in obvious bullshit. You know, believes that obvious bullshit is real. That's the first thing. But his only problem is that, oh, you didn't beg God to save them. I mean, I guess you got no problem with a God that kills people who don't believe in him in the first place. I mean, that would be my biggest problem with that, is if it was actually real, that would be my problem. Like, why would anybody want to actually worship a God that kills people? Because you're afraid he'll kill you? Is that what it is? You know, now, here's the thing, folks, right? If you actually knew that there was an invisible spirit that would, say, make your head explode if you said the wrong thing, then you would say the right thing, right? If you knew that was true for a fact. Let's just imagine, okay? Let's imagine that there actually was some empirical evidence that God just strikes people down with lightning when they piss him off. Then everybody would do everything they could to not piss God off. I mean, you want to survive, you want to live, don't you? Now, you would worship that God because you have to, not because you want to. Because what self-righteous, self-serving deity would want worship under those circumstances? I mean, isn't the whole point of being worshipped being loved? Love and respect. Isn't that what worship is? You don't just respect and fear God. You love God. You're supposed to put him first. Isn't that what all the Christians say? You're supposed to put your feelings and, your trust in him and put him first in your life and obey him and blah, 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 right? Well, that doesn't come when you're scared that you may drop dead of a heart attack 5 minutes from now if you think the wrong thing, or that you might die in a car accident, or your house might burn down, or your head might get decapitated and fall down a mountain, or something like that. Kind of hard to trust and to actually love someone when they're pointing a shotgun right at your face. That's kind of what that's like. That's sort of like somebody pointing a gun right at you and say, love me. Kind of hard for you to love them. You can act like you love them. But no, what you're really doing is that you're obeying out of fear. Imagine you were God. Would you just want people to be afraid of you like that? Doesn't seem right for a all-knowing, all-loving, benevolent God. Seems perfectly fine if God is evil. If God is a tyrant, if God just wants obedience, then that's what he would do. Doesn't that seem right? Right? If it was all just about just follow my rules, I don't care about you, I don't care about what you think, I'm not going to do anything to help you, but if you disobey me, you die. If it was all about that, that would be fine. That doesn't seem to fit the notion of what most people think of God, isn't that right? Most people, when they think of God, they think of benevolence. They think of an all-knowing, all-loving, all-caring God who is the source of all good. who doesn't do evil stuff. Evil stuff is relegated to Satan, who, for some reason, is allowed to get away with doing evil shit. Whatever. God does the good stuff. And God would never just kill somebody for not believing in him. God would give you 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 chances until you finally turn around. Isn't that what Christians tell you? So, seems a little backwards to me. Moving on.
The bus tail wide open just because you wouldn't pray for them.
Of those two girls out of that home, let me tell you, you do not have the promise of one of the second. Are you going to say to Jesus Christ as he passes by, let me alone? You remember that Zacchaeus was so anxious to see Jesus?
So, there you have it, Aaron Ra. And I'm a refuse to call you by your right name until you face what I'm showing you.
Is that supposed to be proof? Is that supposed to be proof? The claim was that God kills people who don't believe in him. So the proof that this dude offered for that claim, because that's a heavy claim. That's a major claim. If it's true, it has massive implications for everyone in the entire world. And the claim that the proof that he's backing up his claim with is a story a TV preacher told that is obvious bullshit. Obviously a made-up story. That's what we're supposed to believe? Now, something tells me this guy is stupid even when it comes to Christians. I'm pretty sure other Christians are going to look at this dude and be like, okay, yeah, this guy's obviously not the shiniest banana in the bunch. Don't think this guy's the only one. There's hundreds of millions of people like this dude out there. Let's continue.
And either debunk it or accept Jesus as your Savior and Lord. That's your only choice.
Okay, how about you get some actual real proof here, buddy? Wildman Chris, right? Some actual real proof. How about you do a study? How about you do a poll? How about you put on your thinking cap and be a scientist? This should be a very easy thing to check, shouldn't it? You should be able to do an experiment right off the bat. You should be able to go up to 10 people in the street and be like, do you believe in God? And if they say no, then an accident should happen and kill them. Like, I don't know, a car should run them over. A crack should open up in the middle of the earth and suck them in. Right? A cow should just fall out of the sky and crush them flat as a pancake. Something like that should happen. They should suddenly get boils all over their body and then just like dissolve into a puddle of fucking, puke or something. I mean, if that's what you want us to believe, that's what you're trying to claim, you should be able to find that. I don't know why it's up to other people to prove your bullshit claim. Like, why is it suddenly everybody else's fucking obligation? You're the one saying this shit's true, not anybody else.
There are 0 cases of anyone in, for example, Islam, where a person tried to get them to convert to Islam. There are no examples of the person responding. I don't want to become one of those ragheads. I don't believe in Muhammad. Muhammad was a false prophet. There are no cases of
and a racist too, of course. Of course. I mean, it kind of goes. I just love how it goes hand in hand, right? It's like you can't be a Christian without being a bigot. I don't know how that fucking works. I don't know if it's when you sign up to be a Christian and they dunk you in the water, suddenly some part of your brain chemistry changes and you suddenly turn into a raging racist, homophobic, Islamophobic asshole. I don't know how that happens. It just seems like every single fucking person you meet who is a conservative hardcore Christian is also a giant bigoted piece of fucking shit. Don't know how that fucking works, folks, but goddamn. Here's another one.
Of a person doing this, and God striking them down. There are plenty of examples of this in Christianity, where people.
Plenty of examples of people being struck down by God in Christianity. Okay. You mean like those two dipshit examples that the TV preacher just made up? You mean like that? Is he gonna, let's see if he gives some more examples here.
People refuse to get saved, where people blaspheme the Holy Ghost after someone tried to preach the gospel to them. There are plenty of examples where God struck them down frighteningly, mysteriously. They died.
Okay.
There are no examples of this in Mormonism, Hinduism, not even voodoo. You'll not even find a case in voodoo. And
I mean, there's no examples of that in Christianity either. Right? There's no examples of that. I mean, not the shit that you just said. Those aren't fucking real examples. Some actual real examples that aren't bullshit. No. I notice how he says even voodoo. You know why he's saying even voodoo like that? Because Christians actually believe voodoo's real. I'm not making that up. It's basically people like this guy, hardcore evangelical conservative Christians, Protestants, right? They very much believe in the supernatural. Very much. And to this guy, it's all basically anything that isn't Christianity is devil worship. That's what he's basically saying. And they really do, like he said voodoo multiple times. Like, even voodoo, nobody just dies. Because he actually thinks that voodoo is like actual witchcraft, like actual superpowers. Like magic is real. That's the thing. It's not just, I mean, because the thing is, like, witchcraft is all, it's just a religion is all it really is. They're rituals, and doing a magic ritual is essentially the same thing as praying. That's really all Wicca and voodoo and hoodoo and, you know, Kanduki and all of that stuff is, right? Occultism, all that stuff. It's basically, they're just prayers. There's actual no such thing as real magic. Like, no, magic is not real. And trust me, I tried, right? I tried. If magic's real, please let me know. Please show me, because I want to fly. If you can make me fly, I'll give you anything you want. I'll do anything you want. I will be your sex slave. Right? I'll give you my house, my car, my life savings. If you can give me the power to fly like Superman, I'll believe any kind of shit that you say. That's what I want. That's the proof. And, if you want me to prove that magic's real, make me fly like Superman, and I will fucking back you up and be your boy for the rest of fucking eternity. But yeah, unfortunately, magic is not real. Voodoo's not real. I mean, it doesn't. There's no magic involved. There's no superpowers involved. Wiccans can't turn people into toads or read minds or see the future. They're not doing Black Sabbath rituals with demons. Satanism isn't even fucking real, right? They're like atheists. Satanism is not, like, they don't even believe Satan is a real thing. It's essentially just atheism is what Satanism is, in so many words, right? I mean, there's more to it, obviously, but it's not like even Satanists don't believe this shit they're doing is like supernatural. There's no supernatural belief in it. No, belief in the supernatural and hardcore conservative Christianity goes hand in hand. Moving on.
And just so you know, Aaron Ra, there are scientifically documented cases of voodoo death.
No, there aren't.
Where people have died because voodoo beliefs. It's a scientifically documented fact.
No, it isn't. It's not a scientifically documented fact. The cases of people succumbing to voodoo curses and shit like that, it's essentially the placebo effect, is what it is. Somebody puts a curse on somebody else, and they think it's real. They believe it's real. And so they get anxiety and all this shit happens, and then they do something wrong and they end up getting in an accident or having a heart attack because they're like, the stress is too much, shit like that, right? So no, there is no scientifically proven cases of people dropping dead from voodoo curses. That's bullshit. This guy believes it because this guy believes in magic, because he's a Christian.
What I'm trying to get to the bottom of is, are these cases in Christianity, is it God really killing them? Or is it their own beliefs about God killing them? That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of.
I mean, it kind of seems to me that if you actually believed in God, and he's supposed to be the Christian God, I mean, because there's the thing, right? If you read the Bible, God kills people in the Bible all the fucking time. God strikes people down, God gives people diseases, stuff like that constantly. Look at the Book of Job. Book of Job is like God and Satan get together and basically have a bet and say, hey, this guy Job, I bet I could fuck his life up. And then he'll hate you. Then God says, nuh-uh. Oh yeah, well I bet if you took away all his money, he'll hate you. And so then they take away all his money. Oh yeah, well I bet if you kill his entire family, he'll hate you. So then they kill his entire family. Oh yeah, well I bet if you fucked up his health, he'll hate you. So then they fuck up his health. Like, that's God doing that in the Bible, right? My favorite example of the Old Testament God being a dick is Uzzah the cart driver. There's a story about how they're transporting the Ark of the Covenant. And there's this guy named Uzzah, and what happens is that he's driving the cart that has the Ark of the Covenant on it, and the cart hits a bump, and the Ark starts to fall off of the cart, so he reaches over to stop it from falling off the cart, and then because he touches it, and he's not like the anointed priest or whatever, God instantly strikes him dead. Zap. His crime was stopping the... I guess he should have just let it fucking hit the ground and get all fucked up and broken. I guess that's what... was that part of God's plan? God wanted the fucking thing to fall on the ground? Is that what he wanted? Because that seems like a real dick move right there, wouldn't you say? To, like, zap the guy that fucking stopped your holy relic from hitting the ground and shattering and getting all dented and shit. Like, to basically fucking strike him dead for trying to help you out. Little fucked up there. That's an actual real story. in the Bible, that is, right? So if you did actually believe in the Holy Bible, then it's not really abnormal, the idea that God would murder somebody, right? But if you're a Christian, that's a little bit different. I mean, if you're a Jewish person, that's fine. But Christians don't believe in the Old Testament God. They believe in Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ is supposed to be all loving and all forgiving, isn't he? Jesus Christ is supposed to end the old covenant and start with the new, right? All of the old rules are gone. Isn't this what they tell us, right? Would Jesus murder somebody for not believing in him? Doesn't really sound right, does it? So why would you think that? Obviously, why would you want to believe in a God like that in the first place? The last person I would want to worship is somebody who's pointing a shotgun straight at my face, but that's just me. There's just a little bit more here. Let's listen to some more.
And I need your help. And I hate you for not helping me. I hate Matt Dill, honey. He would not help me. I hate you both.
Okay.
Now we both die of cancer if you don't decide to help me. Not one.
Whoa, wait. Okay, first off, Matt Dillahunty is the former host of the Atheist Experience, which is a public access show that I think moved to being an online show, and it's still out there. And he was, I think in Texas, I think is what it was. The Atheist Foundation in Texas or something like that. And for years and years and years, he was like the host of the Atheist Experience. So Matt Dillahunty has a reputation for being very, very well researched. Years and years of debating guys like this have honed his debate skills to a fine razor's edge. And he's also well known for having a very short temper. So I'm guessing this guy called into the Atheist Experience before in the past, and Matt Dillahunty told him to go fuck himself, Because that kind of sounds like something Matt Dillahunty would do. Sounds like Matt Dillahunty wouldn't have 2 fucking seconds to waste listening to this guy's stupid bullshit. Right. But what did he just say about dying of cancer? Let's move that back a few seconds.
Die of cancer.
All right.
If you don't help me. I hate Matt Dillahunty. He would not help me. I hate you both. Now we both die of cancer if you don't decide to help me.
Wow.
I don't want this. I don't want you to die of cancer, but if you refuse to help me, I do want you to die of cancer.
Wow. If you refuse to help me, I want you to die of cancer. Mighty Christian of you there, pal. I'm really sure Jesus Christ would love it. I'm sure that when you die and you go to heaven, the first thing that Jesus says is that, hey, remember that time you said Aaron Raw and Matt Dillahunty should die of cancer for not helping you? That was great. That was fantastic. Welcome. I'm sure you're going to get the red carpet treatment in heaven for that. God damn. God damn. Anyway. This is crazy. Moving on.
You are insulting me by your actions. You say I'm not important. I'm not an important person, and for
You're
that,
not.
I want you. I hope you get cancer.
Some of you that are listening to me now, as a Christian.
Wow. That's kind of telling, isn't it? That I am not an important person. Yeah, you're not an important person. Nobody is important in the grand scheme of things, and especially some fucking wacko on the internet telling other people to die of cancer. Kind of fucking shit is that? I mean, why would anybody want to help you if that's your fucking attitude? First off. Secondly, you're supposed to turn the other cheek. Christians are not supposed to be vengeful like that. That's the opposite of what Christians are supposed to be. Isn't it? Christians are supposed to forgive the people who transgress against them. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to forgive them. If somebody steals from them, takes your cloak, if someone takes your cloak, then give them your, whatever, give them your other thing. What does it actually say if somebody steals one thing? That I can't remember what the actual quote is, but if somebody takes your something, then offer your cloak. Someone takes your shirt, offer your cloak as well, or can't remember that. If somebody strikes you on the cheek, then offer the other cheek. Right. That's what Christians are supposed to do. Christians are supposed to be pacifists. They're supposed to love their enemies. They are commanded. These are one thing. That's what Jesus Christ actually said. A lot of the shit in the Bible that you hear from Christians is not actually from Jesus. It's usually something that Paul said or one of the other apostles says in one of the letters or something. But one of the commands that Jesus himself actually gives to people is to turn the other cheek and to love your enemies. That's like from the fucking horse's mouth right there. You're not supposed to fucking wish cancer on people. Right? I mean, I don't remember that part. I don't remember in the Bible where Jesus got pissed at somebody and said, I hope you die of cancer. Like, no, Jesus wasn't going around fucking giving cancer to people. He was healing the sick. All right. I'm tired of this shit. I guess the whole rest of this is just this dumb shit preacher fucking talking about some idiot story that doesn't fucking exist. So we're pretty much done with this asshole. I thought that shit was crazy. I wanted to share that all with you guys because, first off, it's bizarre to me to actually hear this from someone, a self-proclaimed Christian like this, right? Because I think that person is probably the best example I've seen of someone who sort of lives the exact opposite of what Jesus and the Bible actually preach. Because, if you really think about it, the message the Bible gives to people is really not that bad of a message. It isn't. It's not really a bad message at all. Be kind to your neighbor. Help people out when they need help. Be a pacifist. Being a pacifist is not a bad thing. Don't seek revenge on people. Help people when they need fucking help. I mean, if only everybody actually lived that way, the world might be a much better place. Problem is, most of the Christians are more like this guy than actual fucking Christians who would help someone when they need help. I mean, half of our country, it seems, live according to the rules that this dude is handing out. You know, in Texas, there's a law in certain cities in Texas, there's laws against feeding homeless people. Have you guys heard about this shit? Imagine that. Imagine how fucked up that is. Not only are there people out there hungry, starving, living on the street with no place to go, but if you try to help them, then you could be busted for breaking the law. Imagine that. Texas is the reddest of red states. And as such, it's one of the places where Christians like to compare to, say, New York or California all the time. Everybody says how Texas is so fucking awesome, how California sucks so fucking much, and all the God-fearing people move to Texas or whatever. And think about that. That's what they do to their homeless people. That's what they do to their people that need help. Somebody who's out there, because, you know, every city in America has a homeless problem. Especially in the South. The raw numbers are not as many as New York or California. Obviously, California has the most because California has the most people in the nation. But as a per capita, Texas, Florida, Georgia, these places are not far behind per capita. There's just as many homeless people there per capita as there are in New York and California. And in a lot of different metrics, those states are worse when it comes to things like poverty, violent crime, drug addiction, things like meth labs. There are far, far, far more drug addicts in red states than there are drug addicts, red states than there are in blue states per capita. Far more violent crime, far more instances of things like rape, shoplifting. It's way worse. Murder is violent crime especially. Rape and murder is like way worse in the deep south, in the red states, than it is in the blue states. That's just how it is. Deep in the heart of Christendom, where the people who say that we follow God's will and they do all this stuff, they make a big point out of trying to blur those lines between church and state. And it turns out it's like, no, this is where the worst fucking people in the fucking world live. In the country, at the very least. People who would throw you in jail for trying to help someone who has nothing. How fucking Christian is that? Right? I'm pretty sure Jesus Christ himself is going to be very happy with these people. And if you actually really did believe there was a God, if you actually believe that God was real, and that you're going to meet him someday, do you think he's going to be happy that you wished somebody died of cancer for not helping you? Do you think he's going to be happy for passing a law saying that you're not allowed to feed homeless people? No hate like Christian love, huh, folks? Hello, folks. If you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.